Hello there! In this video I will explain how the swap breeding technique introduced in Pokemon Sun and Moon works and show you exactly how to do it. Now before we start going through the details of using this particular method of shiny hunting, we'll need to clarify a few things beforehand so I can explain the technique as best I can. Also at this point I should mention that this method of breeding is not an exploit nor is it cheating. It was introduced in Gen 7 and is very much a deliberate addition to help us shiny hunters. So let's begin. First of all, as you may or may not know, not every Pokemon egg will hatch after the same amount of steps. It depends entirely on the species of the Pokemon in question. For example, Pokemon like Bagon and Dino required 10,240 steps to hatch, whereas Caterpie only requires 3,840. And when you're using the Masuda method of breeding to try and hatch a shiny Pokemon, you can potentially be talking about hatching thousands of eggs before getting that shiny. So naturally, you would want to minimize just how long you actually have to spend running around hatching eggs so you can get through the duds faster, and this is precisely what swap breeding does. Swap breeding allows you to effectively hatch any Pokemon egg regardless of species at the same low step requirement of the Pokemon Magikarp. Second of all, this technique, while potentially brilliantly effective, is very easy to get wrong, so it's important to make sure you follow each step I demonstrate very carefully, especially when it comes to when and when not to save your game. So with that preamble out of the way, I'll now begin to explain the process itself. So let's say, for example, you are trying to breed a shiny Dratini. Normally you would deposit your Dratini in the daycare with your Ditto and hatch each Dratini egg until you happen to get a shiny. So for argument's sake, let's say that you save your game, deposit your Dratini while your Ditto is already in the daycare, and after hatching 200 eggs, you get a shiny. What you may not realize is that after hatching the shiny Dratini, if you soft reset your game without saving, and get back to the point where you were just about to deposit the parent Dratini, you can deposit any other breedable Pokemon in Dratini's place, and you are guaranteed to get a shiny of that new Pokemon after 200 eggs. This is assuming that the parent Dratini and the new Pokemon parent are both either holding the same item or else neither of them have an item. You could deposit a Spiritomb and get a shiny Spiritomb after 200 eggs. You could deposit a Manaphy and get a shiny Phione after 200 eggs. The point here is that it doesn't actually matter what kind of Pokemon you deposit, provided its item or lack thereof matches the original Pokemon, you will always get a shiny after the specific amount of eggs you had to hatch in the first place. So if it takes you 300 regular Magikarp eggs before you get a shiny, if you soft reset and go back to the point where you were just about to deposit the Magikarp, you can put in any other Pokemon and it will still take 300 eggs. I know it may sound a little convoluted, so let me clarify it. The orangey mechanics of when you will get a shiny egg do not change when you deposit and withdraw the parent Pokemon unless the new parent has a different item than the original. Now I know I might be taking a long time clarifying this, but seeing as it's a shiny Pokemon at stake with this method, I want to be as clear and concise as possible. Once again, the game knows for a fact precisely when it will give you a shiny egg. So if you can predetermine this by placing a Pokemon in the daycare, waiting until you get a shiny, and keep track of just how many eggs that took, you can find out exactly when your next egg will be shiny if you soft reset the game and go back to the point where you were just about to deposit the original Pokemon. And this is exactly how swap breeding saves time. Because the game knows when you will get a shiny, it doesn't really matter which Pokemon is in the daycare up until you specifically are about to hatch the shiny egg. By the way, if you don't know, soft resetting your game can be done by pressing L or start and select at the same time. Let's say we save our game and deposit a Magikarp into the daycare, and we begin hatching Magikarp eggs, which, seeing as Magikarp eggs take very few steps to hatch, will do so very quickly. And let's say that after hatching 499 regular Magikarps, you finally get a shiny on egg number 500. You now know that if you soft reset your game without saving, which assuming you've been following the tutorial thus far, will bring you to the point where you were just about to deposit the parent Pokemon into the daycare. You know for a fact that any Pokemon you deposit into the daycare in the place of the Magikarp will get you a shiny on egg number 500. But once again, this is where a lot of people slip up. This only works if the new parent Pokemon, as I said, is either holding the same item that the Magikarp was, or if the Magikarp did not hold an item and your new parent Pokemon also doesn't have an item. I repeat, I know I'm stressing this quite a bit, but it is important. If the Magikarp and the new parent Pokemon hold different items, or one holds an item that the other did not, you will reset the orangey values that determine when you will get a shiny, and in doing so remove the guarantee of getting a shiny number on whichever egg you got a shiny originally on, so for this example, 500 as I said. If you're following me so far, I'll move on to the last step in this method, and if you're somewhat confused you can always rewatch the video or try to find someone else who's better at explaining things than me. If you Google swap breeding guide, you'll probably find videos much better than this that are far easier to follow. But if you're with me up until now, I'll now explain the last part. So far in the examples I've given, I've only demonstrated how you can know for a fact how to reliably hatch any shiny breedable Pokemon based on hatching a shiny in the first place and then just soft resetting your game and replacing the parent Pokemon. But this is only half the method. If you want to drastically cut down on your shiny hunting times, then you need to take all the information given thus far and follow these steps to perform a successful swap breed. Step 1. Make sure you have a Ditto in your daycare, and make sure the second daycare slot is empty. Then when you have a Magikarp and the parent Pokemon of whatever shiny you want to get, you save your game and deposit that Magikarp into the daycare and pick a particular number of eggs to gather as a sample size. I personally recommend 30, as it fills one box in the PC, so it's nice and neat, but really you can pick any number that's convenient for you. So let's say you gather 30 eggs, and then you take your Magikarp out of the daycare and begin hatching all 30 eggs. This is where the process forks into one of two scenarios. Now it's very important to remember that once the Magikarp has been put into the daycare to start breeding, you must not save your game until you have reached either end of the next step. And this is where the process forks into one of two scenarios. Scenario number 1 is that you hatch a shiny Magikarp in one of those 30 eggs, and great! Take note of which number egg was shiny, soft reset your game without saving, and deposit your desired parent Pokemon, hatch the same number of eggs, and boom, you have a shiny. But let's be honest, it's much more likely that you hatch 30 regular Magikarps, which leads us into scenario 2. Say you've just got 30 regular old carps, put those 30 duds in the PC, or release them, whatever you want, and repeat this process again. Save the game, deposit the Magikarp, gather 30 eggs, take out the Magikarp parent, hatch all 30 eggs. If you get a shiny, soft reset without saving, and replace the carp with the desired shiny Pokemon's parent. Or if you don't get a shiny, save your game after hatching the 30 duds, deposit the Magikarp again, and repeat this process until you hatch a shiny. It's very important to make sure you only save your game once you've hatched all available eggs and know for a fact that none of them are shiny. Because if you get an egg that happens to be a shiny Magikarp and you save your game, you end up with a regular shiny Magikarp and no way to swap that carp out and get a Pokemon whose shiny you actually want. The key is to remember that you only save when you get a complete set of dud Magikarps, and never save if there's any chance that any of those carp eggs could be shiny. If you're wondering why we use Magikarps, it's because they hatch faster than any other Pokemon egg. So even if you're looking for a shiny that takes a very long time to hatch as an egg, you can now do so at the speed of a regular Magikarp. Remember, the Magikarp and the new parent must hold the same item, or both not have an item when they're deposited. This cannot be overstated in importance. One last note, and you probably already know this, but this method only works in Pokemon Sun and Moon. It will not work in earlier games. I know this is a complex technique, and it's a little convoluted, but I hope I did my job well, and this video will help you understand what swap breeding is and how to do it. But yeah, thanks for watching. My name is Kanto Karyu, and I'm relatively new to YouTube as I've only been making content for about 2.5 months. But if you like Pokemon live streams and other Nintendo and Pokemon content, and if you're okay with listening to my Irish accent for extended periods of time, then you could come to one of my daily live streams, or subscribe and become a member of our community. But with that, I thank you for watching this video, and I wish you all the luck in the world with your shiny hunts. Thank you, and goodbye.